What are some of the things that you learned along the way when it comes to hiring, whether it's where to go or the process, the questions to ask? Like, what have you learned along the way?
Yeah, so that was part of the problem before with hiring people. So I really didn't know where to go. But my coach actually told me, why don't you just start by asking the people that are using these types of people? And that's what I did. And that was how I found my transaction coordinator, who I still have today, was through just asking some of the other agents that I know.
What about you mentioned now a couple of times about coaching, and so you think coaching is a good investment? That would be my guess if you're an agent who can afford to do so.
We can we can think we know everything. We can think we can do everything, but that'd be kind of like I don't know, sending my son's soccer team out on the field with no coach there. It'd be a little chaos.
This is true. Nothing against your son's soccer team. If today you had to start over and go get a new VA, where would you go? How would you start that process?
Again, I'd probably just start asking some of the agents I know, hey, who has a VA that they're happy with? Who do they work for? Are they independent? There's a lot of VA companies out there that you can go through to start off. I'm not a fan of companies. My VA is actually an individual who used to work for a company.
And what do you do with your VA? Do you guys meet once a week on calls, or what's that communication look like?
Uh, when she was working for me full time, we had a meeting every Monday. We went over all the stuff that I kind of wanted her to take a look at. She did everything from logo designs to editing some of my videos, getting things uploaded, stuff like that.
So now that we got somebody to free up some time that we can maybe use elsewhere, what are some of the things that you focus on now that you don't have to do those?
So, as you know, I'm a big fan of doing open houses. Always have been, probably always will be. And when you free up time and you spend a little bit of time doing these types of tasks that actually bring business in, and it's not unusual for me to get a listing from an open house, whether it's the first weekend or the second weekend. Definitely not unusual to get buyers, which then frees up time for me to work with them. And my assistants actually help out with, if a buyer comes in and says, hey, I want to live in this zip code and this is the size house I want, and I definitely want a pool, and we have two dogs, and then I can give that to my assistant, and she can go through and do that task of finding all of those properties and putting it all together for me. And then I can present that to my client.
Working with a coach and how important that you think that is. What are some of the other lessons that you remember taking away from your coaching experience?
I think the management of time is probably the biggest thing.
And when you say management of time, now like expand, I think people don't quite know what that means. Time management is like a general term that doesn't have a whole lot of specificity to it, at least just not in the definition. So when you say time management, some people picture a calendar that's blocked out hour by hour. Other people have a different idea. So what do you mean by that?
This many hours for this and this many hours for this. And we know reality is you can't do that. You can't block out 4 hours to go make calls, and you can't block out 2 hours to do this. Things come up, things change. So what one of my coaches did was he had me write down everything I did. If I was making calls for an hour and 45 minutes, write down an hour and 45 minutes, what time I started, what time I ended, and keep track of all those things. And then he had me go back and look at the things that I did. And when I say write down everything, he had me write down everything. So if I decided to go make a sandwich and I was at home, I had to write down and went and made a sandwich. But at the end of that week, we analyzed the time that I spent and what I did. And it helped me realize, hey, I shouldn't be doing this. This was very productive. I should probably be taking this time that I spent on these items and applying it to this type of task, like calling. We talked about data mining before, where I just go into my database and just start calling people. So it was a wake up call because when I saw how much time I was actually wasting on things that weren't making any money and weren't productive, uh, it helped out a lot. So time management was huge.
So freeing up time, staying on track kind of with that subject, we've always kind of coached that the listing agent is what you want to become, because you're allowed by doing that to insert more